Welcome to the Journey to Happy podcast, a podcast dedicated to share inspiring stories, motivational tips to help you tune into your own superpowers, get out of your own way, and show up in your life as your own superhero. Because let's face it, happiness is homemade. I am Olga, your host. Welcome, everybody, to the Journey to Happy podcast. In this episode, I am back with Ashley Sear. You may remember her from a previous interview I had with her when she was telling us how she left her 9 to 5 regular job that she did not like, and she decided to create her own job, her own firm, actually, a private investigation firm called Private Eye Investigations. At the time of that interview, I would say 15 months ago, she had just had a tiny little baby boy and I was pregnant. And some of our conversations were around managing pregnancy, or in her case, new baby, and being an entrepreneur and just having so many demands all happening at once. Well, Ashley is back because that's how awesome Journey to Happy is. No, she's really back because she actually reached out and said, I've got something I want the world to know. And she was very courageous to share with me that after giving birth, she went through some postpartum depression, something that she couldn't have predicted was going to happen to her. And a series of events happened in her life that made of this particular scenario a very scary and difficult scenario. But if you also remember her past interview, she was talking us through her mindset and how she changes, uphill battles for opportunities. And not surprisingly, Ashley has used the same tools this time to combat mental health, mental health. And now she's empowered to let other women know what can happen and how essentially to get out of your own way, even with the pressures of a severe depression. So I want to welcome Ashley into this podcast. Her and I are going to talk like two moms who have experienced managing life with babies, plus the pressures of doing a work from home. And she's going to walk us through her mental health journey and how she got out of her own way. Even if you haven't had babies, even if you're never going to have babies, I so encourage you to listen to what Ashley and I are going to talk about, because it could really be of value for you to get out of your own way. Maybe depression or anxiety or any other mental health condition is not a stranger to you. So there is definitely going to be some added value in this conversation to your personal story. Ashley, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very good. How are you?
As you can see, I'm having coffee, so my day couldn't be better. Coffee is my friend. I started these workouts. I don't know if you've ever heard of Beach Body. And I'm now doing these half-hour workouts as soon as I wake up. I signed up for a 100-day challenge. And so I'm just having my coffee now because all these other hours I was being a mom and exercising. So I feel super energized. I need the coffee this early. Nonetheless, I need the coffee. Super helpful. Yeah, so Ashley, tell me a little bit about what made you reach out to me? What made you want to share this story? First of all, a very personal story, and one that I know firsthand from working and coaching women through postpartum depression myself, how hard it is to even share and talk, and how much self-insecurity sometimes going through an experience like this can cause. And I'm so excited that you have the courage to stand here and talk to us. But what motivated you to do this?
Well, I think right now, especially going through COVID-19, we have a lot more people experiencing depression, anxiety, people that are experiencing panic attacks for the first time, and a lot of new moms out there that are giving birth in a time that's very difficult. And sometimes people, they don't have their moms and their family members to help them and assist them right now. So I really thought that sharing my story may help some people, make specific decisions that they otherwise wouldn't think, and also realize that you can guide yourself through a lot of self-healing without necessarily punishing yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to feel specific ways. You're allowed to go through different things, and it's normal. And even if it's not postpartum related, everybody going through depression and stuff like that now too. Like, there's ways that you can psych yourself out of it, and a lot of people think that they can't do it themselves, or they must need medication, or sometimes the medication makes them worse. So I'm kind of here to hopefully help a lot of people understand what they're going through a bit better, and hopefully get through it.
Thank you. Also, for anybody else listening, if you are taking medication right now, like, that's totally cool. Everybody needs something different. And I think the purpose of this particular episode is to show you there are ways out, to get out of your own way, to get whatever it is that you need to feel better in whatever
Exactly.
you are. Actually, so walk me through. Your baby's now 15 months, Thomas. He's exactly 7 months older than my boy. What happened since I last interviewed you? You just had a newborn, and like, kudos to you. He was like 3 weeks old or 4 weeks old, and you're like, or 2 weeks old. I don't even know. He was just born. And you're like, let's jump on an interview. I'll tell you all about how I manage my time.
Yeah, he was definitely new at that point. That's funny. I would think I was feeding him last time we had an interview. My goodness. So the birthing experience traumatized me, and I think we touched on that a little bit last time too. It was horrific, to the point that it made me decide at that point that I never want to go through it again. I don't want to go through pregnancy again. I don't want to have another baby. It really just, it was it for me. I've luckily gone through it and healed that part of my brain and part of my body that was traumatized from the experience. And now I'm ready to move on and continue to build my family the way that I hoped for prior to that experience.
Oh, that's amazing.
But at the beginning, I went through, and I think majority of the moms do, and I'm almost positive you probably went through this as well. After you give birth, once you're back home, and the first few weeks, you go through a superwoman phase where you feel like you can do everything. You can work crazy hours, you can take care of your baby, you can continue the cleaning and the feeding and the cooking, and you can do everything, and nothing can get in your way. You feel energized, which it's all a blur. It's not real energy. You're still like running off of adrenaline at this point. And if you don't realize that, and if you don't actually rest the way you technically should, and kind of put that superwoman mentality aside for a bit, you will crash. And oh boy, did I ever. And I did not see it coming either. I was getting, really tired and emotional, which a lot of women do, like, will cry for no reason. I was going through that too. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure we still do, even a year and a half later. But I was crying for no reason and getting a bit more emotional. And then I felt like a detachment to my son. And I felt all of these feelings, like they were getting worse and worse. And then, but it was a falsified feeling, in a sense, whereas I felt like my son wasn't attached to me, not the other way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, why does he look at his father a specific way, but not me? Why can't, like, all of those little things. And then one day, like, I remember I even asked my partner, I'm like, can you handle tomorrow, because I'm really tired? And he had to go to work. So he's like, yeah, I'll take the next day. I'll be able to stay home. Like, no problem. So I stayed up pretty much all night. Every 2 hours, you're with your baby, waking up, feeding, fun times.
The best times of mother.
And then I remember that morning, it was my partner came to wake me. And when he did, it startled me to a point where I screamed at the top of my lungs. And I was in a dazed kind of feeling where my partner wasn't my partner at that moment. I thought I saw something that I wasn't seeing. And I thought I was hearing something too, like I just wasn't there. And obviously, when you're going through pregnancy, when you're going through closer and closer to your delivery too, you learn about the baby blues, about postpartum depression, and then also about the risks associated to postpartum psychosis.
Right.
So my partner and I had done our research and stuff just to be aware of what can happen. And so we automatically just, okay, whoa, like whatever is happening now. And once I kind of snapped back to reality, I was bawling my eyes out, terrified, in a ball on my bed, like what just happened. And then we made the decision at that point, okay, we're going to the hospital. We're going to just go get you checked. Make sure that you're okay. You're probably just really exhausted, but let's just, be safe. We still have a baby, and I still took care of him during the day while my partner was working and stuff. So we had to be careful, right? So at the hospital, we go through emergency, and they're really quick with postpartum, with women and stuff like that. So they took me in pretty much right away. And I had my stepdad come and join me so that my partner can leave with my son and go and bring him to my mom's, and everybody was kind of taking care of everybody. And my stepdad, who had experience in the past dealing with this and stuff like that, so he was very comforting, very reassuring, knew what to say, what not to say. Very important, I think, when men are approaching women going through postpartum of any type, anything after giving birth or even pregnancy. So he was very reassuring and comforting to have him there for me, which is good. But the doctor that we had, it's very much one of those in and out, like, okay, you're just a patient. I need you to kind of move on. She did a quick little psych eval, and she wrote down a bunch of stuff. And then she just decided to jump to the conclusion right away. Okay, this is really severe. This is really serious. You're going through postpartum psychosis. This is what could happen. And if you don't treat this right away, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. We need to send you right away to a specific clinic in Brockville that really work on postpartum psychosis and, deal with different types of mental illnesses. And then she writes down 3 prescriptions. She's like, you need to take 2 of these at the same time every single day for the next whatever amount of time. And then the 3rd pill you have to take in case of panic attacks, because the first 2 will create panic. I don't take medication. I know, right? Terrifying. I don't take medication. I almost have a fear linked to medication, but that's just who I am. My anxiety. Yeah, my anxiety it creates anxiety. So I was really skeptical about it, really terrified about it. I took the prescription and everything too. And my stepdad was reassuring me also in a way that this is a professional telling you that what you should do. These are the steps that you should do to get better. You want to get better. You're a new mom now. Your son needs you. You're a business owner. Your employees need you. Your clients need you. Your husband needs you. Oh my goodness, right?
Need. Everybody needs you.
Yeah, exactly. And so at that point, you feel depleted. Mm-hmm. So we went to the pharmacist, and this is where more red flags kind of showed up. We're sitting at the pharmacy, and even our pharmacist, which is a small town, so my pharmacist golfs with my stepdad. You know what I mean? They're buddies.
Yeah.
So he's even sitting there and he's looking at the prescription. He's like, holy crap, this is a really high dosage, especially for somebody
who's breastfeeding.
Well, no, I wasn't breastfeeding at that point.
Okay.
But it was for somebody that has no history of needing these particular meds and no history of severe mental illness to that extent. So these prescriptions, as he was explaining it, is to help schizophrenia, depression, and panic attacks linked with other types of hallucinal type of mental illness. So I didn't have that. You know what I mean? Schizophrenia is not something that I have. That's something that, so just those words that came out of his mouth, I was like, whoa, why do I need this? I don't understand. He's like, the dosage is probably just to kind of nip it in the butt before it gets too bad. But then he even having him admit that this is a really high dosage and it's worrisome. I'm like, okay. So instead of taking those meds right away, I held off a couple of days and just kind of like, no, 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 no. And then my sister came down and helped me and my partner out with my son and making meals and all that kind of stuff. And so at that point, she's like, okay, well, I'm here. So if you want to try them one day, I'm here to help you. And we'll get through, the side effects of whatever, and then we'll take a day by day and see. So I decided to do that. I'm like, okay, finally I took up the courage and took the 2 that I needed to take. I'd say within 20 minutes, not even, the room was spinning to the point that if I even moved a centimeter, I was throwing up. I was panicking. I was shaking, sweating. I had no control of any part of my body. I was on the ground like, oh my God. And all I can remember is screaming to call the ambulance to get me out. This is insane. Anytime they try to get me up, to get me ready to go to the hospital, I'd collapse. So it was really, that moment kind of it pushed me over the edge, right? Like it, one, hyphened my fear of meds even more, but also it put a sense of betrayal for the medical industry where I was of concern. And then it made me realize that this doctor really didn't care and she just wanted to get me through the door. And then, so instead of finding a natural remedy or finding somebody to sit down and talk to or something like that, it is like right away is like, here, take these, go and you'll feel better in however many weeks it takes. So it took 72 hours for the effects of the medication to leave my system. And then at that point, you feel
exhausted, I imagine.
Oh my goodness, I hadn't eaten. I felt like, and all of this time, I can hear my son screaming in the background, needing his mother, needing this, needing that. And I couldn't do anything. I'm on the ground, shaking like a leaf, unable to even lift my head. And, like my dog is next to me freaking out too, because he's never seen me in that state. And I'm like, my partner doesn't know what to do. He has to take care of my son. My sister's taking care of me. And and that lasted for the worst of it, I'd say about between 24 to 36 hours. And then the rest of the small effects, 72, which I went to go see my doctor, who is, you're the person that you have the most confidence in.
Right.
And I brought him the medication, I brought him everything. And I'm like, this is what happened. This is the medication. And then at that point, I was honest with him. I said, I was depressed before. I'm more depressed now. Before all of this happened, like I wasn't sure what was happening, but I'm like, now I don't even want to keep going. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was not seeing the end of it. Nothing can make me laugh. Nothing can make me smile. When my son would cry, it's not a sense of you don't care, but it's just kind of like you don't feel the nurture in you that you had before. You don't feel the want to help. You don't feel, so I was useless. So my husband had to stop working altogether, come and help and take care of everything, take care of my son 24/7, take care of me as well. Like make sure I was eating, make sure I was drinking. I was worse than my son. You know what I mean? Like I was a grown baby essentially. And I would cry all the time. And then if he'd leave, I'd panic because I was just like, oh my God, I can't even take care of myself right now. How am I going to take care of anything else? And then you go through your doubts of, I'm not going to be a good mom. I don't deserve my son. He deserves better. And then my doctor at that point kind of freaked out because he's like, okay, I had a history of depression before, so it was nothing new to me. And I had a history of mild anxiety as well. So that's nothing new to me. But everything beyond that I've experienced, holy crap, there's no book in the world that can prepare you for that, especially that everybody's different. But he did tell me something that's really important. And he's like, if this should ever happen again for future pregnancies, he's like, I want you to come and see me first because I know you better than any person in the ER. And then he's like, because what you went through, the exact thing you went through, he's like, you were in such a state of sleep that when you were disturbed, you were woken up like as if you were sleepwalking. So it took your brain a certain amount of time longer than usual from when you open your eyes to get out of your dream. So whatever you were seeing, like, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't awake when I opened my eyes yet to a full extent. So it took a process, but my brain was confused as to what was reality and what was a dream at that point. So everything was kind of
It
intertwined.
happens to all new moms. I can't tell the amount of times that I would wake up and be like, did I bring the baby back to the crib? Where's the baby? Or
Oh
like
yeah.
you have mental confusion from the lack of sleep.
And I still do that. My son's 15 months. He hasn't slept in our bed in I don't know how many months. And I still sometimes go and my eyes are closed and I'm sleeping and I'm punching my partner. And I'm like, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Oh my God, he's gonna fall. And I was just and then I snap out of it. I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, sorry, babe. Okay, good night. And I go back to bed. But it's like it's those moments. And I didn't know because prior to that, you either have regular dreams, nightmares, or you just don't remember what you're doing when you wake up. But I've never experienced like a almost out of body experience when you open your eyes and you're just like, whoa, you see what should be in your head. So he explained to me that that does happen, especially new moms that are exhausted, that are running on fumes, that have no sleep under their belt. And it could also happen to dads, he said, because a lot of times too, like if you're on a rotation basis with your partner, your partner might be just as exhausted as the mom, just not as physically, like you were going through a healing process and a hormonal change, but they're still going through a whole lot of adapting too.
Well, have you ever seen the, sorry to cut you off for a second here, the documentary on Netflix, Babies?
I don't even have Netflix. Is that bad? I
No,
want to.
I only use it for like documentaries. But this particular documentary is research they've done on parenting and babies development to try and understand babies. And this just reminds me of one of the things that they've realized is that they wanted to know if the maternal instinct that is born when your baby is born, that level of like caring for your baby, that sometimes we wake up and the dads don't even hear the baby, like all of what happens to our brain essentially from the moment we give birth. They did research and they noticed that exactly the same can happen to dads if they are in that primary role. So I just think it's so amazing how our body will adjust to like these hormonal changes can happen whether or not you gave birth to this child. Like there will be changes in your brain, which is really cool. So
and I think that we see that too in animals. Like you'll see a dog that'll take in a maternal instinct for a stray baby cat, you know, like things like that, where it's or animals that are breastfeeding when they haven't given birth, you know, like for other babies that need the milk. So I think that it totally makes sense. And men too, like men can go through postpartum depression. Men can go through all of that. And it's really important that the mothers understand that, because if let's say I hadn't gone through it, who knows, maybe my partner would have. So it's really important for both parents to be on the same level of understanding and respect when it comes to changes, because it's such a big change. Having a baby is such a big change.
it is. I have to say, going back to your story, that it is paralyzing. The fear of recognizing, holy crap, did I just see something that wasn't there? Did I just hear something that wasn't there? I can't imagine the level of fear that must have given both of you. Also for the partner to be like, what? You're seeing things? You're hearing things? Is terrifying. And sometimes that level of fear is great because it gets us out of the door to ask for help, which in your case, it was unfortunate the response that you got. It was too much. They went to all the extreme, not take the time to
Analyze it,
really assess or send you for a proper assessment. But also sometimes it's so paralyzing, you're so terrified. Like I worked with people who have anxiety and depression and it takes them months or years of suffering before they ask for help, right? So sometimes that paralyzing fear that the own mental health gives you, it stops you from asking for help. So for anybody listening, I think that, you know, as terrifying as it is, getting to the right hands, it's crucial. Like having her doctor, Ashley's family doctor, say, this could be another explanation to what you went through, was pacifying, to say the least, probably for you. Right? Like you were probably like, oh, there were other options, because at that moment you lack mental clarity. You don't think of what else could have caused my symptoms. So yeah, I think that that's one way of getting out of your way, is looking for help when you know you recognize it, and not just any help, one that feels right, one whose words or whose influence or whose energy just feels like speaks to you.
And I think that in that moment, I don't know if I would have been the one to ask for help. I'm really lucky that my partner kind of forced it upon me, kind of like, I'm packing the baby, put your coat on, we're going, like, that's it, let's go. And he also is the one that called my mom too at that moment, being like, I don't know what's happening, I need your help. So they're the ones that kind of worked as a team, because at that particular moment, you may not have the clarity to understand what you're going through in that moment. And you don't want to wait too long. Like you just said, it's true. And I did the same thing when I was first struck with depression many years ago, where I waited and waited and waited until I was just like, oh my goodness. And then you realize how many weeks and months and maybe years that you've wasted, and that you could have felt a lot better should you just have asked the right person to help you. And at this point, we did think that we were doing the right thing by going and seeking help at the hospital, which, they do help hundreds and thousands of people every year. It's just that particular moment, it wasn't well for me. And my doctor is the one that honestly saved my life at that point. He's the one that answered my questions. He was the one that reassured me. He was the one that was able to really guide me through needing to find myself again at that point. And then also making me understand that, like, okay, actually, yeah, you had a baby, but you've been through depression before. You know how to get out of it. You already have the tools to get through it. Yeah, exactly. And
I'm doing that because I love when professionals can bring people back to their own powers. That's what I'm all about.
Oh, and I think that you have to build that relationship with your doctor. Like we've my God, he's been my doctor, I think, for over 10 years now or whatnot, but he knows how stubborn I am. He knows how, as much as he may be like, okay, well, maybe it's time to consider if you want to have some sort of aid. And he knows I'm not going to ever fill a prescription. He knows it, but we're at that level now that he respects my decision. So he'll go out of his way to be like, okay, so now that you've done this on your own, this is another thing that you can try that will help you even further, but you have to do it. And like we talked about this last year, you and I, like journaling and logging things and really being your own source of accountability, to be able to be like, okay, you know what? Today I'm going to get up, I'm going to take a shower. Even if I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to eat 3 meals today, and I'm going to go for a walk. Okay, just that is a really good day for somebody that's going through anything. That's amazing.
For anybody. That's amazing.
Especially right now, I feel like a lot of people like, when's the last time you showered? No, so it's really like things like that. But at that point, whenever he really sat me down and made me explain everything, and I was seeing him every 2 days for a while, and then, twice a week, and then once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, until he's just like, you know what? I'll see you in 6 months. You're good. And then, okay. But it took me to order from the hospital the actual chart. And I reviewed everything from the day I went in to ER with my doctor, everything. And my stepdad came with me. And that's when I realized that the doctor originally at the ER was writing down what she thought she was hearing, and not the words that were actually coming out of my mouth. So a lot of the things, and I actually have it printed and on my bulletin board in my office to remind me all the time of what could have happened and what should have happened. And it also motivates me to want to help people future, and also to help my future self, should I go through postpartum again in the future, to remember, that not everything you hear or not everything that's coming out of it, just because they're a doctor, doesn't mean it's something that you have to follow and that necessarily will work for you.
And I think this is a really valid point, that what she was hearing is not necessarily what you were saying, because this is such a human, like, we have to remember doctors are human beings. And so like 90% of my work with, say, couples is exactly that. What did she say? What did you hear? Because what the people say and then what we hear is very different. My peeps with anxiety, they never hear exactly what's being said. They hear something else. And this is not like part of mental health condition. This is what our brain does. Our brain is always looking for evidence. So I can imagine putting myself in this doctor's shoes. She's like, she's not risking a baby or a new mom's life, right? So she's like, let's go to the worst case scenario. Let me cover my back. How could I, I would say her intention was to help. And she went full force on what her fear was of like worst case scenario. I personally, my life has been saved several times by regular medicine. So I'm a big fan of regular medicine. I'm also a huge fan of holistic, natural ways of healing because that's how I maintain my health. And I always say this to people, doesn't matter who your health practitioner is, even if it's me as a therapist, I tell my clients, don't ever believe everything I say. Put it to test and make up your own decision. And I think that's the point that you're bringing that is so, so, so important. We're all professionals, but we're also human. And we all have a personal opinion about what we professionally know. So when we give you advice, when we give you a prescription, I don't give prescriptions, but if I had the power, or your doctor, when they give you a prescription, they're doing this based on the information you're providing. Ask yourself, did I give all the information? Did I feel like I spent enough time in this office talking? Do I feel like this evaluation is fair? If not, it's okay to self-evaluate. Now, for all of my health anxiety tips, I don't want you to hear this and be like, oh my God, now I can't even trust doctors. I'm going to have to do my own research. I know you're doing your own research. You can't trust the medical system. You just have to be assertive enough to know that your voice, your intuition also counts, even when you're anxious and depressed. And if you're having suicidal ideation, like Ashley was saying, I do highly recommend talk to your doctor. And if your doctor thinks a good idea for you to be medicated, you can work this through. You can go through medication and get off the medication when you're feeling better. Above all, saving your life is worth it. So whatever route you need to take to do that, I think is very important. Speaking to several people about what you're going through, feeling like you were heard, that this is a common diagnosis is very, very important. Because in a mental state that is no longer clear, that is no longer serving us, it's very easy to make the wrong choice. And so it's very important to be supported and to feel that you are supported. Especially new moms, like Ashley was just saying, we want to be super women. I have to say, Ashley, you know what saved me? That I had a C-section and that my house was under construction and it was like I couldn't stay in my own house. So I gave birth, stayed 7 days in the hospital because of complications. And then I was at my parents' for 2 months. For 2 months, I have my mom, my dad, and my husband taking care of me and baby. And I think that was life-saving. And if I was to have another baby, I would probably want to recreate the same scenario. Because, oh my God, I didn't have to think about breakfast. I didn't have to do laundry. I was not even in my own house. So I wasn't thinking like the house is dirty. It was so, I just feel like the universe probably just confabulated and did this for me. Because I think this is the old days. This is how it used to be. Moms would not do anything for 90 days. They were like obviously caring for their baby and that's it. Like they had the community coming and helping and just doing so much. And like, Actually, I know you're like me, we're type A and we just want to get everything done. Like I love achievements, right? Like last night I went to bed and I was so proud because I had finally finished my 3 baskets of laundry. I'm like, today is a successful day. I'm going to bed feeling like the best woman on earth. And so those little goals, like even if they seem silly, they make us feel so good about ourselves. But when you're a new mom, you're trying to figure it out. Like well, this baby thing, like, why does he cry? One day I remember it occurred to me, he's just crying. He's not hungry. He doesn't need a diaper change. This kid is just talking. And so, like it's just you're learning so much and you're learning about your body. And for those of you who are pregnant, maybe for the first time, and you're listening to Ashley's story and you're freaking out a little bit, I have to say that Ashley had a very, very traumatic, she almost did die during her birth, which is not the common norm, is not what happens often. And for anyone who has a nearly death experience, it is so expected to have some kind of post-traumatic stress coming from that. And if that is added to lack of sleep, not eating properly, having a really demanding tiny little being that needs you 24/7, and not being able to process those emotions of the trauma, it's not, to me, it's not surprising that you went through some postpartum depression because of just like your birthing story. And I cannot tell you how brave I think you are to have worked through this and to say, I am going to do this again. Like, you make my eyes watery, because I think that that's so courageous and so amazing that you're not letting the story in your mind stop you from what you've really had, hoped and wished for even before this traumatic event. So as a new mom, as a woman, as a therapist, I think, like, take my hat off to you. Actually, that's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. But I honestly think it took me a good 6 or 7 months to come to that decision and to come to that realization, I guess. And it took a lot of work, but like a while ago when you said community, it takes a village, right? Like, that's the old saying, it takes a village, and there's a reason why. And after having spoken to my doctor and going through a few of the appointments, he made me realize that to which extent it really does take a village. So at that point, that's when my partner and I sat down and we decided, okay, we're going to have your mom help, my mom help, my stepdad help as much as possible. I'm going to try to sleep when they're coming over and not work, because I was still running 2 businesses at that point. We're going to, and instead for me to have quiet at the house, we're going to drop off my son at their grandparents every so often, and just have, time for me. But it also took us to go and see everybody and sit down and be like, this is what I'm going through. I am going through postpartum depression. I am going through, suicidal thoughts. I am going through a hard time. We're working through it, but I need help to do so. I can't do everything myself. And can you help? Can you help with something? Whether it's meals, whether it's taking care of my son once a week, once a month, anything, whether it's coming over and cleaning. So that was absolutely massive. And our village, our community on our end, is really what got us, both of us, through it, and at a lot faster of a rate than if I was by myself trying to get myself through everything and still maintain a regular life. Like, you can't.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there, because I will say my biggest struggle, and it's not mine, it's my client's struggle, is convincing them to asking for help. Moms, oh my God, moms, I know guilt is born with our children. I know it, like, I experience it. But asking for help could be the single most important thing to teach your children. That they don't need to go through life alone, that they don't need to struggle by themselves, and that they don't need to be super anything. They just need to be human and ask for help. And how much pride and pleasure do we get when our children ask for help? Like, my kid doesn't talk, but I see those arms sticking out and I'm like, oh, I'm coming to get you. You need me. Okay, no problem. Like, we love being needed. But Ashley, what happened to your ego? How was that process? Because I know you're a doer, and like, you take a lot of pride of like, I need no help. I've done all of this by myself. And that's the the profile of most of the women I work with, because I naturally attract people who are like me, my energy level. Love working with people like yourself, who are like go-getters. But also, this is when they hit a wall, is like, you're asking me to do what? Ask for help? But what would that say about me? So could you walk us through that mind change? Obviously, you were terrified. Obviously, you knew there had to be a way out of this. You wanted to change, I would imagine. And what took you to sit down with your partner and say, hold on, let's use our tribe. Let's call these people up and say, how can you help? And please do. Without your ego being like, you suck, Ashley, look at you. You're a terrible mom now. Just asking for help. You can't keep it together.
I think at that point, when if you're as low as I was, and you're not you anymore at that point, because even if let's say I didn't tell you I was depressed, You walk in my house, you knew I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was written all over my face. I couldn't hide it. I couldn't even greet you at the door. And, sometimes I was able to put some makeup on and smack a fake smile on and say hi to somebody. But for the most part, even that took all of my energy that I'd be depleted after, just after that initial greeting. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm going back to bed. So I felt it was important, especially that I was distancing myself from the people closest to me. And they know that.
Also a very big symptom of depression, by the way.
Huge.
Isolating. Yeah.
Yeah. And like at that point, it's very obvious. One, he's got a huge family that's super, super close knit. So if I'm instantly no longer part of that, and I'm clearly demonstrating, they're a big family. So you can imagine a lot of moms and a lot of babies. So they've seen it all.
Right.
So sitting down and speaking to his mom, that is a widow with 4 kids of her own, and now a grandmother of 4. She was easy to talk to in regards to understanding what I was going through. I didn't go into complete detail with her. That wasn't important to me at that point. It was just, I'm depressed and I need help. And then as soon as I even tried to say anything, I started bawling my eyes out. And so right there, like it's a conversation with no words. And then at that point, she was our savior. Oh my goodness. She'd come twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes, to take care of him, even if it's just for a few hours or for the entire day, just to make sure that I can do whatever I wanted to do at that point. And that helped. And there's like 3 things in particular that I made sure to do. And I would note down a sticky note everywhere around my house to make sure that I did those, which is exercise. But the thing is, as you know, going through a C-section, you can't exercise.
The thought even gives you stomach pain, but okay.
Oh my God.
So what did you do?
And so anytime I tried, like after a certain amount of weeks and I tried, I reopened 3 times. So my exercising was delayed, which ruined made my depression a bit worse, because I can't lose the weight.
You're not making progress. Yeah.
I'm not making progress. I can't lose the weight. I don't feel good. Like I don't feel good looking anymore. I feel gross. I feel, and then it's like, oh yeah, right. And then it goes through that. And I'm like, okay, all I need is to start exercising to get that part out of my head. But I can't, because I keep, injuring that area. And as simple as going on a drive on a bumpy road, the seatbelt.
Oh, yeah.
So,
don't even remind me. Yes.
It's awful. So, it was 12 to 16 weeks before I was able to actually go for really good walks. And that's what they tell you after C-section. Walk till the cows come home.
Mm-hmm.
You can get up. Once you're up, just walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I'm telling you. Trying to get up, though, is what's hard. My goodness.
Oh, I love it. I actually, I live outside of the city as well. And we're new because we just moved into this small community last winter, pretty much, after Mateo was born. And now that it's nice and like, spring is out, I've been walking a couple of hours every day, morning and afternoon, with the stroller. And I'm now seeing neighbors that stop social distancing. They talk and they're like, oh, so you live in that house, eh? Yeah, we saw that there was a new. So it was amazing to me how everybody knew about us. We're like, what? How do you know that we're here? But I run into this lady who had just become a grandmother, and she told me all about her grandson, because she was seeing that I had a son too. And it was yesterday they were walking by with her daughter who had the baby. So I was introduced to their little baby. And the daughter told me she had a C-section 3 weeks ago, and she's walking down the street. And I'm like, oh my God, you must be doing really well, because like you're freaking walking. She's like, well, it's been 3 weeks. So at that point, I had another reality check. Everybody's different. I was not like, first of all, I was for 3 weeks so bloated from water retention post-pregnancy. I couldn't even stand on my own 2 feet. I was like a balloon. I had to hold on to things to shower and not fall. So, everybody's so different, which I'm just bringing this up. So nobody compare yourself to somebody else's story. Like for Ashley, it was 16 weeks before she could do a workout, and her scar reopened 3 times or 2 times. For me, I was my body needed to readjust to the amount of everything that they had put in my body to help me birth. And I was water. I may as well have been just a balloon full of water rolling down the streets. Like there's no way I would have been walking at that point either. So yeah, they get up. Once you're up, walk. Okay, I need the community to help me get up because everything hurts. That's fine.
Oh my goodness. Yes, same here. I had to go and get double checked after some, I was so swollen after giving birth. And the doctor's like, well, it'll take 2 or 3 weeks before the water retention. But then because it also ended up causing me to go deaf in one ear for a couple of months because of all of the fluids that are in your head and going through your system that needs to like drain out. And I'm like, I had to go get tested to see if I was losing my hearing. They're like, unfortunately, this is normal for women after giving birth, that some women actually lose their hearing permanently, which I didn't know. And I'm like, oh God, thank God that's not me.
If you have never had a baby, please delete all this information. These are very unique cases, people. You can give birth and be perfectly happy the next day, okay? I promise you.
Oh, and I tell you, my friends they're so lucky. Every single one of them pretty much at this point have babies, and they've delivered, with just that little clinics there with midwives,
yeah.
pushes, they're out, no medication needed, super healthy. And I'm like,
yeah, I am either.
I wish.
I was double injured. I tried to push this baby out. Didn't go that way. We ended up with a C-section 3 days later of active labor. Yeah, so anyways, let us not terrorize you with our stories of how our birth stories went. But actually, this is making me think of a book I read called Headstrong. And he talks about David Aspirin. I may be totally missing his name. He talks about the side effects of having inflammation in the brain. And you're talking about how it had impacted your ear because there was swelling all over your body. I wouldn't be shocked if this swelling came to your brain. And so the book doesn't talk about postpartum or pregnancies at all, just humans in general, like everybody, men, women, going through inflammation, which is his whole basis is like reduce inflammation of the body at all costs. Because if your brain gets inflamed, which doesn't take much takes much, but not much for the lifestyle that we now have, with the foods that we're now eating, with the activities that we're doing, to get your brain to be inflamed and help people go through what appears to be depression when they have inflammation in the brain, like where they just can't stand themselves, like the brain is on fire. So if you guys know how I always talk about my nutrition, how I always talk about lowering, I don't care so much about the weight. Of course, postpartum, I did care. Like, I want to go back into my clothes. That would be nice. Weight to me is not so important as much as it is lowering inflammation. And for the majority of people that I work with in one-on-ones, I refer them to see a nutritionist or a naturopath to see the levels of inflammation. And so we can lower inflammation in the body, the brain will begin to heal and slow down. Because if all your organs are inflamed, the brain is on risk management, like it's trying to manage, like there's danger, there's something going on. So girl, I think you had a combination of just malfunctioning of your poor body that was going through this traumatic event.
Oh, definitely. And well, it is known that your brain, with the amount of extra blood, I think we get 4 extra liters or something of that pumping through our system when we're going through pregnancy. So your brain does swell a little bit, but with everything afterwards and all of the hormonal changes, you have to be aware of it. You have to be careful, obviously, of it as well. So, but that being said too, every person's body responds to it, heals from it a lot faster than others. Like, everybody's different. But in the response for the depression, so the 3 quick things a while ago, we discussed last time about journaling, being accountable, like accountability as a whole falls into one. You have socializing, which is the hardest part, I find. Okay, there's 4 things. socializing was like the hardest part, I find, because you feel at first like it's fake. You don't want to go out and see your friends. You don't want to go to that party. You don't want to go to that barbecue. You know, you just don't want to go out to dinner with the other couple. But you have to really put yourself through it, even if it's just floating through that moment. You have to get dressed. You have to go out. You have to sit through that dinner. And at one point, you're going to realize through that dinner that you're glad you're there, that you actually laughed for probably the first time this week, that you're enjoying somebody else's company other than your own. And it's just socializing is huge for depression, helps immensely with anxiety as well. And then there's, like you mentioned, eating. You know, if you're going to be eating McDonald's 24/7, and yes, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because while I'm working, all we get to eat is fast food. So I totally understand. But if you're about to eat McDonald's 24/7 and then you're complaining about feeling like crap all the time, kind of goes hand in hand with your diet, right? You are what you eat. And then, so eating healthy, well balanced, it doesn't mean only eating vegetables. You know, I love my sweets. I love chocolate. I love cookies. I love everything. But when it comes to eating dinners, I like, you know, you have something balanced with either meat if you're not a vegetarian, with your, you know, vegetables and fruits and all that kind of stuff. So just well balanced. And then lastly, it's exercise. So we try to, you know, at first, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Don't force it. But once you can, even if it's just like us taking a walk, and even to this day, that's pretty much the extent of how my exercising is. He's 15 months now, but I have a hard time doing anything too extensive. Mm-hmm. And it's just the way that my body is right now. But it doesn't mean in a year I won't have adapted. Like, I'm getting stronger, especially that he's getting heavier. I'm getting stronger and stronger with time. So that's like an adapt thing, something that I have to be okay with. You know what? I'm cool with it now. And
how heavy is your kid?
Honestly, I have no idea. He's going for his next check month next month, but 3 months ago, he was it 22, 23 pounds? But he's like tripled in size since.
Yeah.
So
yeah. My little baby is 20 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why I'm so eager to know what people's babies weigh, because I'm convinced like I have like a tiny little bag of rice that I have to carry everywhere. And so this is exactly what has motivated me to exercise in a way I hadn't before, because of body posture, because of body aches. And I'm like, this kid is so heavy. And like, he doesn't walk yet, so I have to carry him with me. Anyways, so I wanna come back to movement. Like, so exercise is movement. I don't like, you know, I often tell my clients, if you hate running, please don't make running your exercise. Like, this is about feeling better. This is about getting happy hormones out of your brain, on running and flowing through your body. Like you, I've given birth 7 months ago, and like most of it was awful winter, so I was not gonna take my baby out in the winter. But I'm really enjoying the spring, going out for walks, and I count. It's an hour walk, you know. I'm just taking my time. It's not like fast walking. I think it's a decision to let go of ego and to let go of what you used to do before, and that expectation that you're going to jump right back into it, and simply come to terms with what really matters is to move for your mental health, but for your physical health. Like, just moving feels good. It feels good. You will never go for a walk or a run or a yoga class and come back like, what a waste of time. You know, like, this beach coach that I was listening to a class this morning, as it was getting really intense, she says, be thankful you can move because some people can't. And it made my day. I'm like, you're absolutely right. So if I can move, why didn't I choose the type of movement that speaks to me now? You know, so whether that's yoga, walking, just movement. And research shows half hour. You need to go the hour that I'm walking right now. I just enjoy it so much and I have the time. But you don't have to. Like, some movement is better than no movement. Absolutely. So there was movement. There was still journaling. Is that something that helped you? Or
at that point it did. I don't anymore, but it's something that helped me through that. And it's just, and it's not like I wasn't writing paragraphs and paragraphs. And it was just like, even just a to-do list. And I know that's awful, this words to do sucks, but I mean, in a way, I was just like, accountability as a source of, okay, tomorrow I'm going to shower, I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to eat. 3 things written on a list, check them off once they're done. Don't go to bed until they aren't. You know what I mean? Like, and that way it's accountability, and you're going to feel good at the end of the day before going to bed, knowing that you were able to achieve those 3 things that you wrote on that list. And even then in a week, add a 4th.
Yeah. Or even the one thing, you know, like, so I have my to-do list for work. Like, I work at home. So like you, I have sticky notes. I can see 4 right now in front of me. Each of them have a different, and one of them is a mantra, right? Like, so I use the sticky notes all over my house. I highly recommend people to do this. There is one on my cupboard in my kitchen that says take your vitamins and a little heart. Otherwise, I'll forget about these vitamins. So use the sticky notes to trigger your memory in any way you can, but you can also write beautiful notes to yourself. Journaling is it's like therapy. It's very, very helpful. And even if, like Ashley is saying, you're just writing the things that you want to do. And then something that I've been working on all of my last year was less is more. And I was focusing on the one thing. It's a great book called The One Thing. And this book is all about, like, what is the one thing that you're accomplishing today, and accomplish that. And so my to-do list never goes past 3 items either. Never. Like, the 3 priorities. Yes, I have an ongoing list of to-dos that are like over 100 things that I want to do. But on any given morning, it's like, what are 3 primary things that I have to do? And what is the one thing? And so, like, yesterday, my one thing was to finish my laundry for once and for all. So it's not lingering in the back of my head, like, you haven't done this, you know? So even if you, like, I know sometimes we think more is better, and like we feel an adrenaline from accomplishing a lot more. You also will be disappointed. And that feeling, it's so devastating to your mental health and to your well-being. So set this shorter to-do list, and then focus on the one thing. What is the one thing I absolutely have to do today? Eat, for example, could be one of those things, you know? I absolutely have to eat today because I've got a full day. So having that energy is going to be important. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. So
no, it's true, and you're absolutely right. And you're right in the sense of that what's disappointing. You do not want to end your day, especially if you're going through depression already. You don't want to end your day on a bad note, because the chances of you wanting to roll out of bed the next morning are even slimmer. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have as much motivation to get up and to complete another list of tasks, or even if it's just that one item, because you're going to have the feeling of disappointment that you had on you from last night. So no, definitely focus on your big priority. But at first, when you're really at the lowest of the low that you've been, it'll literally be just shower. Yeah. You know, today I'm gonna shower. Tomorrow I'm gonna make dinner. You know, I'm gonna stop calling in food, or I'm still gonna just like eating craft dinner and rice. I'm gonna actually make dinner tonight. It could be little things like that. And it just kind of, you know, I'm gonna get dressed. I'm not gonna stay in my PJs all day. I'm actually gonna get dressed, and I'm gonna feel good. I'm gonna look good today for me. So definitely that little list, I think, is really important. And it's gotten me through depression way back when. The first time it hit me like a rock, and then this time through with postpartum. And it makes you accountable for yourself, and it makes you really realize what is truly important and how you can find your happiness again. Because then once you shower, you're like, you know what? I actually feel good. I feel clean. I feel good. And it automatically puts you in like, okay, well, I'm going to put clean clothes on. And then maybe at that point, you're going to be like, you know what? I haven't done my hair in a long time. Let's do my hair. And then you're going to look good. You're going to feel good. You're going to smell good. And then it's just going to kind of trickle into, you know, the snowball effect. So,
yeah. So you were saying you add one more thing, like, so I really think it's so important if you are the person listening to this, like, how do I even get motivation to shower? You know exactly what we're talking about when we say, like, showering is your priority today. Do that. Start there. Even if that was something that you used to do every day and you take for granted, like it's a no-brainer, I just get up and shower. It's a commodity when you're a mom. Like, I am going to shower. Nobody come and interrupt. This is all I want to do. Is like my spa day now. It feels like showering. But really, honestly, come back to what makes you feel better. And accomplishing something will make you feel better. So don't start with, I'm going to run a marathon if you're depressed, or even if you're not, but you're having a hard time staying motivated. begin with something really simple that gives you enough good feeling after it's accomplished. Like Ashley was saying, oh, since I got dressed, I did my makeup, I did my hair, you know what, I'm gonna go for a walk. And so imagine how you finish that day, and let it be natural. More than expectations, set them as intentions. I'm gonna naturally let and see what my body will do or what my mind wants to do today. But keeping yourself accountable to doing at least one thing will be super helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's really crucial. And like you said, let it be natural. Because if you're forcing something, although that being said, when it comes to depression, you do to a certain extent have to force yourself. Like you have to force yourself out of bed. And if doing like taking a shower that day is the thing you're going to do, well, you might have to force yourself into that shower. But once you're in the shower, then a sense of relaxation is going to probably come upon you. And once you feel out, you're going to be happy you've done it. So it's the next day, it might not feel so forced. And then, you kind of have to keep getting into a routine. And that is crucial for anybody going through anything, having a routine established. So once you're able to, get those couple of things on your list done, and then you have them on your list every day. Okay, so now that I'm able to take a shower, I'm going to take a shower every morning, and that's how I'm going to start my day. Okay, well now you're like creating a pattern and a routine, and you got to keep going with it, or else you're going to feel lost again. You're not going to feel a need to get out of bed because you're not going to have that next thing that you need to do. And it's not saying like you said, you don't have to go and do a million things. It's literally just a sense of feeling of being accomplishment. So it's okay, get out of bed, take a shower, make a bowl of cereal, it doesn't matter, and then go for a walk. And then your routine before 9 a.m. is done, and then you could do what your body is telling you feel comfortable to do for the rest of the day. And at that point, it might be a ton of things, or it might not, you might want to just sit and watch a movie. Okay. But at least a pattern and a routine is crucial, or else you're not going to have a sense of, why do I need to get out of bed? Screw it. I'm going to roll over and I'm going to go back to sleep for another 4 hours.
Yeah, I do think the distinction between forcing yourself and doing what's natural is important in this context. People with anxiety and depression and people who are lacking motivation are also lacking commitment. And so the forcing yourself is really just keeping yourself accountable and committed to your well-being. So I want you to think of it from a place of like doing things with love, but not missing it, because then that's letting yourself not down, but not showing up to nourish yourself on that particular day. I was sharing on my Instagram. If you guys are not following me on Instagram, you should 100% do that now, Olga's that way, because I put a lot of free content on mindset. And one of the things I shared this past week is how to make a quick mindset win. You choose one task, one little task that is easy to do, but that your brain is always telling you, you can do that later. It's not a big deal if you don't do it. For example, doing your bed in the morning is one thing that some people say, I absolutely love it and I have to do it, and they're committed to that. But there are other people who are like, I'll do it one day, and then others I don't, because it's not mandatory. My life continues to roll without my bed being made or not. If you want to discipline your mind, to bring it back to a mindset that is healthy, choose one simple task and stick to it no matter what. Rain or shine, you're going to be accountable to yourself to do this one task that is for the purpose of disciplining the mind. What it does is that your mind, when it comes and tells you a reason or an excuse or a story to not do it, and you say, no, hold on, I committed and I'm doing this, you begin to show who's the boss. And at all times, we have to tell our mind, I'm the boss. I hear you, depression, I hear you, anxiety, I hear you, anxious mind, worried mind, loud mind, but I am the boss. And I am saying, you're not going to bed until the kitchen is done. That's my personal one. And I started that during COVID because it felt like there was one massive meal all day that never ended, like the kitchen was always, so it's like it was never ending. So I began to be comfortable with my kitchen always being undone. Like, okay, well, there's gonna be dishes everywhere. Till I said, no, I hate waking up in the morning, coming down to feed my baby, and he has to wait because I've got to wash all these dishes that I didn't do last night because I was tired. So now it's such a beautiful sense of accomplishment. I've stuck to this one task. I will not go to bed until my kitchen is clean. And the morning when I wake up, I remember that I've done what I said I was going to do. So already I wake up winning. It's like, I'm walking down into the kitchen exactly how I wanted. I am amazing. There's that feeling of like, I've done it. And if my mind tells me not to, is tired, you had a long day, you didn't sleep last night because of the baby, this is your time to go sleep, your husband can do it. Like, God knows how many excuses my brain can give me. It is a sense of accomplishment. And you know what? It's not the same if he does it. If my husband does the kitchen, I still feel like, no, this is what I said. And I mean, it's not to say that sometimes obviously that's what has to happen and I ask him to do it, but this is something that I set for me. That's my one task, to discipline my mind during times where structure went out the window for some time. So how can you bring yourself back to that structure? Your mental health, to be healthy and physically, you thrive on structure. You thrive on structure. If you're an entrepreneur like Ashley and I, without structure, you don't got a business. You have God knows what you're doing, but you're not running a business. Without structure, you can't be as not a successful mom, but a productive mom, or a mom who has also time for herself, and a mom who can set boundaries. What provides that? Structure. To know what your day is going to look like, to know what are you giving to it, to your children, and what are you giving yourself to yourself, to your business, to your working environment. So I am a huge fan of structure. That's probably one of the number one things that I get all my clients to do, is create structure. And within the structure, self-care, non-doing is part of that. So structure doesn't mean like your schedule is packed.
No, that is absolutely, and self-care is massive. We tend to forget ourselves in the chaos of everything. We'll take care of everybody and everything else, and then you'll put yourself in the background, and you'll tend to forget that, you have necessities, and that could just be, you know what, I'm going to go for a half-hour drive by myself in the quiet. Or for you, it's your spa days in the shower, whatever it is. Like, it's your own self-care is so crucial. It could make it or break it for you, for sure. And I think that with structure, you're able to really emphasize times that is your time for you to take care of you. So
guilt-free. You can't invite guilt to come with you to these spaces for you, because otherwise you may as well just be not doing that. Do something
else. My gosh. And that's hard. That's hard to do. It's almost like learning how to delegate for the first time. It's hard.
Oh, yes, that's so hard. But this is actually, in a previous episode that I was with my mentor, we were talking about how it's so easy to delegate now in our business, but it's so hard when it comes to motherhood. I want to do it all. Like, oh, nobody's going to know exactly how to feed my baby. Nobody know exactly, and I want him to go to Montessori when he's 14 months, 15 months, like about the age. And I already think like, but will they understand him? Like, when he makes this face, I know exactly what he means. Like, will they know what my baby needs? Delegating in motherhood is tough. Nonetheless, is crucial, because you want to be a mom, and a healthy mom. At least that's my best wish for my kid, that he has a healthy mom. And that means that I need to learn to delegate within motherhood so that I get the time to be with me.
And I'm really, the little bonus, if I can find it within COVID, is the fact that my son is still with me and not at daycare. Because I'm going through that right now too. Okay, well, and the nice thing too is, like, in Quebec, it's very rare that you'll find a spot for your kid under the age of 18 months, but he's approaching that. And I'm like, oh my God, are they going to be able to take care of him the way I take care of him? Are they going to be able to feed him the way, like, every child is different, but they all go through the same process once they're no longer home. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's us that need to be ready for that. I always say it's not the child. Children are so adaptable.
Oh yeah, it's us.
It's us. I didn't go to school to learn how to, let go of this attachment. And the need of being needed. I think this is something that as moms we have. It's a very strong need of ours, is to be needed by our children. And when we notice that we're not as needed, it's a catch-22. When we're with them 24/7, we're like, oh God, I can't wait for that. You don't need me 24/7. But as we create that distance, we're like, but are you sure you don't need me? Are you 100% sure you don't want me to be there? So it's enjoying the little things and the process, and being graceful to whatever it is that we're experiencing, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My
So you
goodness.
got out of your own way. You went to see your doctor, and it sounds like you were seeing him on a regular basis until this
Yeah.
mark. So I would compare that to therapy. I would compare that to a life coach. I would compare that to having somebody in your corner who you can trust and whose interactions with yourself, with them, sorry, make you feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. This guy gave you hope. And
Yes.
this guy gave you tools and he reassured you of your own powers. uh, I would count that as you did therapy for those first 6 months, because he was probably that for you.
Mhm.
I
He
love
was. And on top of that, I did seek some sort of, I guess, psychologist, if you want to call him
that.
that.
Yeah.
And we did like over the phone meetings once a week for a couple of months. And it's just to talk. It's to talk to somebody that's like a third party, not part of your life, that doesn't judge you, that not, they care for you, but at the same time, they're not, once they hang up the phone, it doesn't affect them personally. And that's what I wanted. I wanted really somebody that I can talk to that doesn't have an opinion or a sense of
Word.
like, yeah, like it's just that I just wanted to talk to somebody that was going to listen, hang up the phone, and we're good. And I don't care if I had to pay for it. So that was really important to me, and it made me feel good. And she also kept me accountable for things that I wasn't for myself. And it also gave me an hour, honestly, that I wasn't worrying about my son, about my partner, about my house. It was just
You.
how exactly it was me. How have I been feeling for the past week? How have I been doing? And that was nice because you don't think of that unless somebody asks you. And then you realize, and then typically our tendency is like, oh yeah, it's good. It took me a few weeks to be honest with her. It really did. And to actually open up. But you have to build that relationship with your psychologist or with your therapist. And I built that with her. And then I was able to be like, okay, you know what? This week sucked. I was exhausted. I feel like I'm burning myself out. I feel like, this, and this. But this is what I now know, thinking back, that happened, that I've done to myself in order to be this tired. That'll change for next week. And then that way, like, it really helped me kind of.
It's a moment of self-reflection, right? Like my clients tell me when they see me, they say like, oh my God, now that I'm saying this out loud, I realize it wasn't that big of a deal. So sometimes to hear ourselves talk to, like you said, a neutral party, one of the biggest obstacles for people to see a therapist or a psychologist or a life coach is like, are they going to think I'm insane? And then they're going to judge me like the rest of, but I'm so happy that you notice. It's so important to have a neutral party, right? Like when my clients come, they talk to me, they can talk to me about their husband, like whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like we keep it on you. This is all about you. I'm not going to be worried about your child, where what that feels like to have these feelings. Like this is all about you. We keep it focused on you. I personally, I don't know about your therapist, but I give my clients homework. This is what we're going to focus on for the next week. Your attention is on that. This is our goal for the next week. And so they come back and they self-reassess. I do nothing. I just guide people, which I'm sure your therapist probably was like this. It's a guidance, it's a self-awareness, it's an opportunity. When my clients say, I don't know to an answer, to a question that I ask, they know they've got to go back and do their homework. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You can't give me that answer. Go back, reflect, come back. So then they go back and they're like, ah, I know why I was feeling better, or now I know why I wasn't, because it's a self-reflection process, the process of coming back and being accountable, like you said, to yourself. And much like you were doing, they already come back saying like, this was hard, but this is what I know I'm going to do for next week. You begin to train your mind to think of problem solving, which is so amazing.
And I think that one thing that helped me, and we spoke about ego a while ago and type A personality, I've tried this in the past, face to face does not work for me. I will lie through my teeth to any professional, and except my personal doctor now, because
Yeah.
I can't. Well, we've established that. But every other professional I've ever sat in front of that are trying to help me, I have always, sugar-coated things to make it seem that I wasn't going through what I actually was, and that I was better than I actually was, or that I was happier than I was, or less stress or whatever. So when I had the opportunity to have over the phone discussions for me, it helped me kind of imagine that I was talking to nobody, or to somebody that wasn't seeing my emotion, the rawness, the realness of everything that I was going through. And I was kind of just talking to
Behind the scenes. You were kind of like behind the scenes. Nobody has to see me. I don't have to put a comment.
exactly. There's less vulnerability. And yeah, it took a week or two to adjust to that and realize that somebody's still going to respond when I'm talking. But at the same time, it really allowed me to put my guards down a lot faster, like a lot. And then also just kind of be honest, which is really, really, really hard to be honest when somebody like ourselves that are very type A and things got to be perfect and in order to then admit that you feel like you're failing at everything. So being able to admit that, I personally was only able to do that over the phone.
Over the phone. I am so happy you're bringing that up. When I first found that I was pregnant and I closed on my physical space and I said, hey, I'm just going to be in the online world from now on. If you need to see me, there's this video like you and I are doing right now where we can see each other. But I'm so skilled at what I do that I can perceive your emotions over the phone. Your voice changes. I can tell that. And even then, we're still going to connect. You're still going to get the help. And I had some people who were like, absolutely not. This is not for me. Now, COVID has kind of brought this reality to everybody. So even the new people I'm getting to coach now, they're like, could after COVID, can we still do it this way? Could we still like, oh yeah, no, I never did see people in person. This is the way it is. And I do find faster progress. And I think this is why you're bringing the reason there is, for those who are always afraid of being evaluated and how you're going to present and what are people going to think of you, this comes across in a therapeutic relationship. And so to let go of that, because you're either on the phone and you don't even know what that person looks like in some cases, it does allow for that extra freedom. And even this video thing, you close it off and then it's like, done, like she's just somebody in my computer. She's just a person that shows up in my computer and then off she goes. And I have seen that kind of faster progress because people feel more honest, and so it's easier to get to the core of things.
Absolutely, and that's important.
It's less. It feels less of I'm visiting my friend and we're having coffee, and it's more of like, let's get to work. I have 1 hour. We're gonna be on the phone. What do I want to talk about? And I have noticed that my clients come now prepared, like, these are the questions I really want to target in our call today. That never happened when people were coming here. Well, I mean, it did happen, but not as precise and as focused. People are really focused with the video or phone. I'm so happy people are jumping into this professionally, because all school professionals wouldn't want to do it on the phone or online. So
no, it works out really well. And I think that for a lot of people, it's easier because of that. You don't have a sense of, like, when you're trying to admit somebody, it's like admitting when you're wrong, right? Like, it's hard to do, especially for certain types of people. It's hard to like say, I'm sorry. I know I was in the wrong. Well, it's like admitting that to somebody face to face. There's a reason why so many people have to write it, have to text it, have to call to say it. It's because that face to face, you have those eyes that are looking back at you and you feel judged. You feel all of these things. And as much as your therapist is not judging you, that they're not there for that. They're there to help you. But you will always have that sense of, well, what if? What if they are judging me? Oh, I can totally tell she doesn't care. Oh my God, no. And then you just change what you're about to say instead of saying what you should be saying. But over the phone, you don't get those feelings. It's just kind of like,
and like,
spit it all out.
Like I do video and I will be able to say, like, what emotion was that? You changed, something changed when, and they're like, how can you tell there was a difference? I'm like, there was a difference in the tone of your voice or in the face that you made. So these things kind of go away with just phone because you don't see the face. But our skills is to listen. And so we will listen to subtle changes. Like, what did you really mean to say by this? So I think this is so great. I love that. First of all, you're being honest with yourself to know that this is something that you would do if you were in somebody's office. And so that this is more helpful. You got out of your own way. This is another example in which you got out of your own way. You knew, I could continue to go to this person's office, but I know what I'm doing. I'm pretending all is well so that I look amazing. I remember going to talk to my clinical psychologist she was doing my clinical supervision for my first job as a clinician. And I had a really awful event with one of my clients. I was working at a men's shelter at the time, um, within addictions, and I just had an encounter that was terrifying. And so I went in to see her, and I walk in, and she's like, "You're here to tell me something amazing because you have a massive smile." And it hit me. I'm like, why am I smiling? I'm gonna tell you this is not a happy thing. So that smile turned into tears almost right away, because I was like, I'm not happy. But that's what happens when we're facing people. We kind of come in with a, hi, I'm all good. And knowing her, she probably knew that it was like, she knew what she was doing by saying, you're so happy. That the real emotion came to him, like, no, I'm not. Delete that smile. But that's our like initial response. Or like you said, with friends, we always say like, how are you doing? Well, good. When do you say awful, actually? It's rare. It's rare that we like take their time to vent, really, and say like, I'm not doing well, and here's how.
Yeah, no, we don't. It's unfortunate. We should.
We should. That's what friends are for.
Yeah, exactly. They're cheaper than therapy, but we just don't utilize it.
Way cheaper therapy. Yeah. So I really hope that anybody who's listening to this just grabs from this conversation little things that you can do to get out of your own way. I think the most important thing is create the mindset to look for opportunities. Know yourself, like be so honest with who you are that you're not setting up yourself for failure, that you're actually providing solutions that match your personality. Like Ashley has demonstrated that in everything that she said, like, no, my doctor knows I wouldn't take medication, so what would I do instead? She had to force herself to do all these other things. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to let my tribe come and help me raise my child. And I'm going to come clean and tell everybody I'm feeling depressed, and this is my reality. This is happening. I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm going to do every day. How did you manage with work?
Oh my goodness. So I own 2 businesses, and I help my husband manage all of the paperwork for his. So how I managed, honestly, I don't know. I know that I took on a lot less for my own businesses. I took on a lot less.
So you slowed down, you delegated?
Yeah, so I delegated a lot. Gotta love having an administrative assistant. Otherwise, I don't know. I probably would have just closed down shop for a while. But I just slowed down. I took cases that I knew weren't too stressful, that weren't too heavy or hearted also, because they're emotional, my cases. So I took things that were a little bit more lighthearted and easier to do, and to delegate to my staff, and that they can do it without my supervision. And then for things for my husband's business, he knew that don't ask too much at once, kind of thing. So like, let's say if we have to do invoices, well, and quotes, well, we'll do invoices tonight, we'll do the quotes tomorrow. So like little things like that to kind of keep the ball rolling on his end. But in fairness, like my goal was to get better, and it hit me really hard. I'd say probably about month 2 or so, of like probably shortly after our first interview, honestly. That's when things really kind of got real for me. And by the time he was around 4 or 5 months, that's when I started to really start feeling better and realizing that I'm enjoying motherhood. And then around month 6, this is when I'm like, this is the best time to be a mom. And especially that I was lucky that my son was ahead of the game in development for a lot of things. Like he was already running everywhere at 9 months. I was really lucky for everything. So he was able to adapt with me also. So at 6 months, he was, like already ahead in the crawling and the standing and doing all of this stuff. So I'm like, awesome. But at that point, I needed that. So it was important for me because I was able to play with him at that point, and I was able to create the relationship I needed with my son. So for me, it was really like trying to mix everything, but I wasn't working Monday to Friday. I'd work maybe 1 day a week per business. And then I kind of just touch base with my employees whenever they needed me throughout the week. And then for my partner, it's whenever he needed something, I would work on his business. But my main focus was me. So Monday to Monday, every single day of the week, it was okay. Today I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go and eat this. We're going to go and try to socialize with some friends or some neighbors or family. And it was really, my work was not my priority. But that being said, as a business owner, you can't just let go.
No.
We don't have that opportunity. And because we don't have access to maternity leave, I had to keep going. But it was hard. It was draining. But it's a sense of success as well, knowing that I can do all of that and then some. And then I proved that too. Like within the months, like I started working more, and then I have a third business that's about to launch in a couple of months. I have a TV show that's about to launch. So I have all of these things that are just like really going. And I did all of that within his first year. So just to prove that you can go through, postpartum depression of wanting to be dead, suicide, to feeling an actual natural sense of accomplishment, sense of on top of the world, sense of pride, of knowing that you're a great mom, great business owner, a great partner, and you're able to manage your time and your emotions accordingly and just not burn yourself out.
And I think that greatness, great mom, great partner, great, doesn't come from the amount of things we accomplish, but how we're feeling as we're doing these things, that you are doing this in a way that feels good for you within the limits of your potential. And our potential, it's different every single day. Like I look at my energy levels every morning and I'm like, based on what I've got in my tank today, what's okay? What's my full potential today? And sometimes my full potential means I am going to be a mom from morning to night. I have zero energy for anyone or anything. Like, and then other days I'm like, oh my God, all my creative juices are out. I have to put some hours into writing, into putting things for my podcast or whatever the case might be. You brought up something really important that I just want to highlight for people listening. And it's our creative powers. So I am convinced that there is a creative energy within us at all times. And when that gets stagnant, when we're not creating, we're destroying. So you mentioned like from wanting to die to actually giving birth to another business. You kind of were using your creative energy at some point, you were not using it. So you were in destroying mode. How can I destroy what I have? And that happens when we stop creating. And so for men, when my male clients, I tell them like, build things with your hands. Just think of like a project that you want to create. And if you're not a handyman, then just think of the book you want to write. If you were to write a book, like think of creating. And if you're a woman, I would encourage you to do the same, like think of creation. How can I create something? It could be a cake. It could be creating a get together, a party. The creation of something, like occupying our mind to create, switches from self-destruction or destroying something. So always be aware of that. Like for me, the moments that I have the most anxiety is when I sit down and like create something. I'm going to sit down. This is a perfect opportunity. There's obviously that energy within me that needs to go and create something. And this is when I sit down and I write a blog note or my next course, how it's going to be. And I want to know all about your TV show and your third business, but I think we might have to do this on another interview. I'm so impressed that you were able to switch these energies of self-destruction for creation. And because you're doing that, all of us get to benefit, right? Like there is another business now that is on the rise. There's now a TV show that I don't know what it's about, but it is going to be exposed to so many other people because you chose life. Yeah, because exactly. You chose to get out of that dark spot and say, how do I get out of my own way? And it's possible. I'm seeing Ashley. Ashley is right here with us, like she exists. And she's a woman who made better choices. Every step of the way, she thought about how can I make a better choice today. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So are you going to tell us a little bit about this TV show?
It is a reality TV show about me and my business and cases that we're working on and a whole lot of excitement and drama and private investigation type stuff.
And where is this going to air?
So those are details I can't give just yet. everything for production is on hold until COVID-19 kind of gets lifted a little bit there. So once we get the thumbs up, then I can give out all of the details. I'm so excited about it.
You first heard of it here at Journey to Happy. I just want to make that clear. That's so exciting. I look forward to having more details, and please do let me know so I can watch and see how cool this is. I can see why the drama in a investigation company. The gossip that must run through your office must be awesome.
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ashley, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being so honest, so real, for showing up here as a human. And I am convinced that your success in life comes from the mindset and your ability to get out of your own way. And I believe, just like this is accessible to you, this is accessible to every single human who wants to get out of their own way. So if you're listening to this and you think, well, she's special, she definitely is special, self-made special. So you can also self-make yourself to be equally special and just make that choice. Today, I'm going to get out of my own way. So what are the obstacles I'm creating and how could I go about it? And if you cannot come up with that mental clarity yourself, please ask for help. Find a local therapist, reach out to me, reach out to your doctor, reach out to a friend. Just do not stay in the paralyzing fear of not knowing what to do. Not knowing what to do doesn't mean that there is nothing to do. There is something to do. And sometimes we just need to brainstorm with somebody to have that mental clarity. And that's accessible to you. Super accessible to you. So find that way. Find the way out. The only way out is through. You got to go through this. Ashley, one last thing. In the message you sent to me when we were talking about bringing you back into the podcast, you said, I have grown so much since Thomas was born. What would you say is the biggest area of your life that has had growth since then?
I'd say my self-clarity, my own self-awareness. And like I mentioned, like prior to having Thomas, I lived through depression before. I've lived through like anxiety and stuff before. And now I have a new sense of understanding my body, this like what I'm going through, what could happen. There's so many moments, and even recently with the pandemic, there's so many moments where I could have let myself go through another depression or get into, a panic state. And I don't allow it because I know, like you just said, you create it. And so you kind of just push through it, get through it. Like you said, to get to the end, you got to get through it. And I think that all of that self-awareness and self-clarity and really understanding my own strength and my own stamina is important. And also, like you said, being okay with your energy level. And I have days like that too, where I get up and I'm like, you know what, today it's going to be in the living room watching cartoons with my son all day, just take my dog out once. That's it. I don't have energy for more. I don't have energy to entertain all day and to cook all day and to be outside all day. Today, that's all I can do. And you know what? That's okay. And that I think is huge growth, because before I would not have accepted that from myself. It would not have been enough.
Yeah.
So
that's fun. Well, thank you so much. For anybody else listening, I hope you got something out of this. If your mind is running through, 1,000 thoughts right now, trying to find a way to reset your mindset, I want you to come into my website and check out my Reset Your Mindset membership program. It is accessible to you from your pocket. You can be on your phone. You can listen to mini trainings that I'm doing on how to reset your mindset. And I have made it super accessible. You can join the membership for as low as $47 and then add on things that you want to get out of this work together. It is a form of having therapy and life coaching all online at, the ease of your fingertips, really. So if you're thinking, how do I get started? This might be a great place for you. There's different options for you. There's always some subject within this training that would allow you the tools to come back to yourself and self-coach yourself to whatever it is that you're going through. So I hope you found this helpful. Ashley, once again, thank you so much. I am very, very, very excited to have had you back and to see your growth throughout the last 15 months. I do believe that children come here to teach us, much different from what we think that they're here for us to teach them. They are our mentors, and taking this opportunity to be with them in that learning process makes us better humans. I am convinced of that. And so you're a clear example of that as well. Thank you so much. And you guys stay tuned for my next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.